This is a day I've been looking forward to for 2.5 years.
The book chosen for this project is called Steve Jobs and is the only official biography of Apple's founder, died in 2011. The work is the result of more than 40 interviews with Jobs, enriched with various other interviews with colleagues, friends, familiars and rivals, very useful to the author Walter Isaacson, who has been able to draw a complete picture of the protagonist. It was released on the 24th of October of 2011, few days after Jobs' death. Walter Isaacson was born in New Orleans on the 20th of May of 1952. During his university education, he attended lessons at Harvard and Oxford, studying philosophy, economy and politics. His career started at the Times, then he moved at the Time, where he gained many roles of great responsibilities. In July 2011, he became CEO and president of the CNN, following the whole series of events of the 11th of September's tragedy. Isaacson then had many political roles in some USA governments, like the one of George W. Bush and Barack Obama. He wrote various books and biographies. Among those there are Benjamin Franklin, An American Life, Leonardo da Vinci, and of course Steve Jobs, which was the Gerald Loeb Award in 2012, an important journalism prize. The book touches chronologically the numerous steps of Steve Jobs' life, from childhood to his last days as CEO of Apple. All the passages of his human and working career are narrated with many details. As it is possible to imagine, Jobs' life is far from monotonous. After giving life to his dreams, founding a small company in the garage of his adoptive parents, he suddenly has to face lots of responsibilities, dealing at the same time with a difficult character, which is a pro and a con at the same time. The story moves in parallel with some events that change the world, like the presentation of iPhone or iPad, until his illness that led him to death. Isaacson's writing style, together with all the extras, make the readers feel deep inside the events, as if they were at home with the man born in Palo Alto. The movie, produced and directed by Joshua Michael Stern with a good Ashton Kutcher as the protagonist, is about Jobs and starts with a huge flashback that brings everyone from the iPod's presentation to his first years at college, his problems with women and drugs, until his full immaturity, when he comes back at Apple after a long break. Stern's job is accurate and well represents the various events written by Isaacson in the book. Kutcher is a true hunk, able to have control of the scene for more than 2 hours. His casting is always actually right that sometimes it seemed to see Jobs walking and talking. The critique did not like the project, reviewing the script, written by Matt Whitley, too weak, with many scenes put just to make the book alive, but it has been considered exaggerated at the same time, because it observes too much a character full of flaws, an error that Isaacson did not make. As Steve Jobs is the founder of almost 3 companies, Next Computers, as well as Apple and the refounding of Pixar, the topics the book covers are among the most disparate. But despite what one might think, it is not just about technology. The personality of the man in question lends itself to various personal reflections, given his eclecticism, unpredictability and madness. The common thought of all the people who met Jobs is that he was a real Stakhanovyte, sometimes even beyond the limits of imagination, so much that he led many people to resign from their position, but at the same time he managed to get the most out of those who fully espoused the love and passion for what he did. In the final stages of Jobs' life, there is room for a bit of redemption. Living with an illness has allowed him to shine a light on aspects and values of life, such as love for one's family or caring for oneself. Steve Jobs is a shining example of perfection and imperfection, of genius and unruliness. What he achieved in his lifetime, like it or not, cannot be replicated, especially because Apple's identity, a real status symbol of our times, is so strong that it convinces people to buy products, spending hundreds and hundreds of euros more out of fashion than out of real need. At the same time, the former owner of the Cupertino company has always demonstrated that he would have passed over anyone and anything to realize his crazy dreams. At a very young age, he disowned a daughter, denying that he had conceived her. In later years, he passed over numerous colleagues that had given their lives to Apple, often for extra work-related reasons that would never have justified dismissal. His achievements will never be taken away from him, just as his mistakes will not be tainted by the redemption of the last years. We, as common mortals, can just study the phenomenon and take as a cue the best things that such a character gives us. This is what one does with those who create history. Character aside, what Steve Jobs gave to the world is unique and difficult to replicate. The philosophy he had towards his craft, as well as ability to understand and even anticipate people's tastes and needs, are gifts that need to be admired and studied. It is important to underline that this has nothing to do with the sometimes serious consequences of these products. Interest and admiration are exclusively about the abilities of a man who, with all his faults and controversies, made gold out of everything he touched. Rejecting the term defeat and seeking absolute perfection and precision are important characteristics in both business and personal spheres. This does not mean that one cannot lose. On the contrary, failure is part of everyone's journey, and every life experience, even if seemingly useless, can become formative and valuable for the future. Jobs himself explains, on the day he received an honorary degree from Stanford University, that some of the notions learned at university, an education he never completed, later served him to implement his Apple devices. Probably both book and film are to be considered niche works. Walter Isaacson's 600+ pages are very profound, but require a minimal knowledge of the technology sector and dwell on many details that an ordinary reader might simply ignore. For its part, the film takes for granted a certain basic knowledge of Apple's genius, so much that some events might be meaningless to a neophyte who has no love and passion for the character. Reading and watching it remains absolutely recommended, also to get a better idea of a character who, despite much controversy, managed to change the course of history, anticipating the rest of the world by years with his modern vision and real conviction that change was indeed possible, if one has the courage to be really foolish.
Perché solo quelli che sono abbastanza folli da pensare di poter cambiare il mondo lo cambiano veramente. Com'era?